I was worried because the pad Riley used was getting discolored. One day, I got a call from Thomas. He said Riley had collapsed while staying over. In a panic, I took Riley to the hospital, where they diagnosed that it might be cancer. Shocked, I told Thomas on my way back, and then went to a meeting at Riley's tutoring center. After the meeting, I saw Thomas in front of the building where the tutoring center was. He was talking on his mobile phone.
Riley just collapsed. Taking care of her is a hassle, so I'm thinking of giving up on it. She was just right as a housekeeper replacement.
He laughed out loud and continued.
If it's not cancer, I plan to sell her to adult entertainment. I'll make her work, earn a salary, and use it to pay off debts. Kids have to be useful to their parents, right?
I was stunned by such horrible words. I muttered to myself, "You haven't grown in these 10 years, but I've changed. I'll do anything to protect Riley. Be prepared." I'm Hannah, a 45-year-old single mother. I divorced my ex-husband Thomas 10 years ago and have been living with my daughter Riley ever since. After the divorce, we've always lived a life short on time and money. Then one day, Thomas suddenly appeared in front of us. After disappearing for 10 years, what does he want now? I was inexplicably angry. Unaware of my feelings, Thomas made us an offer. I can hardly ever participate in weekday school events. How many times have I apologized to Riley? Each time, I'm overwhelmed by frustration. I use my paid leave for school events. I can't take time off when Riley gets sick, so I always end up making Riley endure. When Riley was little, I wanted to work reduced hours. If her father worked full-time, I could have attended school events and marathons without worry. Riley understands, so lately she doesn't ask if I can come, but leaves the event notices quietly on the dining table. Working from morning till night, I hardly have time to talk to Riley during the week, and the days pass in a rush. With my parents living far away, it's hard to rely on them. I want Riley to go to college and have a normal life. That's why I've worked tirelessly without looking around. Lately, Riley's cold attitude, as she enters her rebellious phase, troubles me. Every morning, I rush to make breakfast, leave the dishes to Riley, and head to work. Even though the only time we can talk is at night, Riley gives vague answers to my attempts to start a conversation and quickly retreats to her room upstairs. Lately, she started attending tutoring sessions with friends, making it even harder for us to talk. Even on weekends, she either goes out with friends or stays in her room. When I knock on her door wanting to chat, I'm met with a grumpy response. "What? Let's watch TV together. Your favorite actor is on." "I'll watch it online later." The next day, I'm dismissed again with, "I'm watching videos." Or, "I'm on the phone with a friend. Go away." When she comes down for meals, we do see each other, but she responds to my attempts at conversation with indifferent nods, quickly returning to her room after washing the dishes. Living under the same roof, we barely speak or meet eyes, feeling as though we're living in separate houses. It seems like a lie that just a few years ago, she would smile and call out, "Mom." Watching variety shows alone feels unbearably empty. While struggling with these feelings, the doorbell rang one evening over the weekend. Ding dong! I was shocked to see who was at the door. It was Thomas, my ex-husband who had disappeared for the last 10 years. As I stood frozen, Riley came up beside me, looking puzzled, and peered out the door. Dad?
Is that Riley? Yes, it's Dad.
His cheerful tone irritated me. I responded coldly. What do you want after all this time?
What's the problem? Can't I come to see Riley?
After abandoning us for 10 years?
My bad. I was in the area for work and wanted to see you both.
It felt awkward to keep him at the door, especially with the neighbors watching. Reluctantly, I let him in.
Riley, I've missed you.
Thomas was overjoyed, as if he wanted to hug her. Despite 10 years, he still looked stunning, like an actor, with his appearance and naive smile that once deceived me. Thinking how much he must have lived without hardship infuriates me. Riley greeted Thomas with an awkward smile. Hello, Dad.
What's with the formality? But Riley, you've grown up so beautiful.
Thomas gave her a once-over with a superficial smile.
Tall and stylish, you could pass for a high schooler already.
Yeah, people often say I look mature for my age. Riley blushed. While I was preparing coffee, Thomas kept talking to Riley. Riley, choosing her words carefully, answered his questions.
Do you remember me, Riley?
Not really, just from what Mom told me, and pictures.
Figures.
I felt restless. Riley's smile had been rare lately, usually looking grumpy or sad.
I came here today to talk about something important,
Thomas said solemnly, setting down his coffee cup. Riley glanced at me sitting beside her. Should I leave?
No, it's about you.
Thomas looked seriously at Riley, sitting across from him.
Riley, would you like to come live with me?
I almost spit out my coffee. Riley was also surprised. What?
You're going to high school next year, right? Which schools are you considering?
Yeah. Stuyvesant High School and Bronx Science.
Then you can commute from my apartment, no problem.
Wait a minute. I interrupted the conversation in a panic. After ignoring us all this time, what's with suddenly showing up? This is just too selfish. Then Thomas crossed his arms and spoke in a somber tone.
You know, getting to this age, I've felt the loneliness of being single. But I guess you wouldn't want to get back together, so at least I thought I'd like to live with Riley.
I couldn't help but shout at Thomas, who was smirking and scratching his head. Don't joke around. Absolutely not. Just go home. As I was trying to pull Thomas up from his chair, Riley said casually, I don't mind living with him. What?
Really?
Thomas's face lit up. Yeah, but it can't be all of a sudden. First, I want to go out together, stay overnight, and then decide, okay?
Of course, you can even come to my apartment after graduation.
I felt uneasy. I had only told Riley that our divorce was due to irreconcilable differences. Despite the divorce, Thomas and Riley remained father and daughter. I didn't want to plant a bad impression of our father in Riley, who was still a child. I never imagined he would suddenly show up and propose living together. I don't like this idea. I almost snapped at Thomas. Riley is at a delicate age. With exams coming up, changing her environment is absolutely not okay. Riley looked at me in surprise, then Thomas chuckled.
Hannah, it's not like Riley is going to be gone forever. If living together doesn't work out, she can always come back here.
Exactly, Mom. You're thinking too much into it. Both of them laughed, and I closed my lips tightly. I know that. I know, but I'm worried about Riley. Unaware of my feelings, Thomas carelessly said,
Then let's go out tomorrow. Where do you usually go with Mom? Theme parks or something? Ah, but you're in your third year of middle school. You'd go out with friends.
Riley smiled awkwardly. I don't think I've ever been to places like that before. My heart ached. The only places I had taken little Riley were shopping malls and parks. They were close by, so we could make it back in time for dinner at home, and we could stop by the shops on the way back. Above all, it was cheap or free entertainment. Watching animated movies while eating popcorn, having lunch at the food court, or celebrating Riley's birthday with delivered pizza was an unimaginable luxury for us. Though we've had a bit more financial leeway recently, until not long ago, even buying a single piece of clothing for Riley was a struggle, balancing against the household budget. A smirk appeared on Thomas's face, and he exaggeratedly sighed.
What? Really? If it were up to me, I could take Riley wherever she wants, as much as she wants.
Really?
Yeah, where do you want to go tomorrow?
Riley leaned in to look at the theme park website Thomas had opened. Seeing Riley excited made me feel lonely. Lately, no matter how much I invited her, she had always refused, saying she had plans with friends. But with Thomas, she was eager to go. Thomas then began inviting Riley to various places on the weekends, excluding test periods, gradually closing the distance between them. They went to the aquarium and brought back a huge manta ray plushie, went to a carnival and brought home cotton candy, went out happily to movies, and even visited a trendy dessert buffet. It's true that seeing Riley's bright expression after a long time made me relieved, since she had been looking downcast lately. Riley suffers from severe menstrual cramps, enduring the pain and lethargy so much that she would spend almost a week bedridden, even after taking over-the-counter painkillers. Having experienced the same, I understand the difficulty. I explain the situation to her school, and she attends makeup sessions to compensate for her absences. Recently, when I got my period and opened up the sanitary box, I noticed Riley's used pads were discolored, which concerned me. I suggested she see a doctor. Should we get it checked at the hospital? It's tough every time, right? No, I don't want to. You can't come with me, right? Going to the gynecologist alone is scary. Understanding Riley's feelings, I decided to take her to the doctor when I could get the time off and left it at that. If Riley could have fun, I was happy too. If Thomas was serious about taking good care of Riley, maybe it was okay to let her stay with him. I started working harder than ever before. I even started accepting weekend work I had previously refused, leaving Riley in Thomas's care. I thought immersing myself in work might distract me from the sadness of Riley leaving. The two, having closed the gap as father and daughter, moved to the next stage. Riley was to spend a night at Thomas's apartment. I asked for his address to be ready for emergencies, drove there to check the route, and found it reassuringly close, about a 20-minute drive away. I suggested delaying the visit when Riley unfortunately got her period, but she insisted it was fine. If I delay it, it'll be during the test period, right? I want to get it over with. I secretly checked the used pads again and saw they were still discolored. I felt anxious, but made sure she ate lots of spinach and liver for iron and gave her iron supplements. Hoping for the best, I sent her off. The next afternoon, I received a call from Thomas. What happened?
Riley collapsed.
I was speechless.
She says it's just anemia, but she's pale as a ghost. This is bad. What should I do?
Thomas sounded panicked for once. While on the phone, I grabbed my wallet. Take her to the hospital now. I'm on my way.
It's probably closed.
There's the emergency department.
I've never been there.
I felt frustrated. I'll take her there. Just watch Riley. Yes, this is the kind of person he was. Calming my panic, I rushed to the apartment in my car. Passing Thomas, who was just standing there, I helped Riley up and supported her to the car. At the hospital's emergency department, I explained the symptoms, and after a short wait, Riley was called in. As I waited on the sofa in the waiting room, suddenly I heard shouting from a doctor and a nurse. Then Riley, seated in a wheelchair, was pushed out of the examination room by a nurse. I'll accompany her to the restroom. Oh, yes, please. My heart raced with worry as the doctor called me in. Sitting in the chair, a young doctor began to speak to me carefully.
Please stay calm as you listen.
Yes?
Riley is suspected of having cervical cancer.
I felt dizzy for a moment, nearly collapsing from my chair.
It's only a suspicion for now. We want to conduct a thorough examination, so please be admitted to the hospital today.
Understood. Afterward, Riley went to the ward with the returning nurse. I went home to prepare for her hospital stay and then headed to her ward. It seemed like the doctor only told Riley about the suspicion of a disease in her uterus. I'm sorry, I should have taken you to the hospital sooner. It's not your fault, Mom. I was the one who refused. After defending me, she asked timidly, Will you come again? Of course, I'll come every day. But you're busy with work, right? I'll leave work on time while you're in the hospital. Really? Riley couldn't hide her happiness. It hit me how much she had been enduring her loneliness. Fighting back tears, I left the ward. I couldn't leave without saying a piece of my mind. When I returned to the apartment, Thomas was laughing uproariously at a video on his mobile phone. Rage boiled inside me. You can still afford to be carefree, huh? I lashed out at him, and Thomas turned around, munching on potato chips.
Hey, welcome back. How did it go?
They said it might be cervical cancer.
What? Really? Damn, that's bad.
After a pause, Thomas muttered,
Maybe we should cancel the living together thing with Riley.
Obviously, I can't trust you with this.
They're going to examine her thoroughly, right? Hopefully it's a lighter illness. Let me know the results.
Thomas then returned to watching his video, indifferent as if it were someone else's problem. I felt an overwhelming anger as I set off home. Driving home irritated, I suddenly remembered. Today was the parent-teacher meeting day at Riley's tutoring school. I made a U-turn, heading towards the downtown area. After the meeting, on my way to the parking lot, I spotted a familiar figure. Thomas, whom I'd just left, was smoking a cigarette in front of a grocery store, talking on the phone. Hiding behind the building's wall, I was shocked by the conversation.
Riley just collapsed. Taking care of her is a hassle, so I'm thinking of giving up on it. She was just right as a housekeeper replacement.
He laughed out loud and continued.
If it's not cancer, I plan to sell her to adult entertainment. I'll make her work, earn a salary, and use it to pay off debts. Kids have to be useful to their parents, right?
Unaware of my trembling rage, Thomas drove off with a middle-aged woman who appeared from the building. I stood frozen for a while. How can he be a real father when Riley might be seriously ill? My head felt like it was going to explode with anger. I gritted my teeth and muttered to myself, You haven't grown in these 10 years, but I've changed. I'll do anything to protect Riley. Be prepared. 2 weeks later, when I told Thomas about celebrating Riley's discharge, he showed up cluelessly with a dumb look on his face. The sight of him bringing Riley's favorite sweets in a bouquet, showing how he was used to dealing with women, sent shivers down my spine.
It's good that Riley's illness turned out to be something minor. It was something with the uterus, right?
Endometriosis. The doctor said to monitor her condition with medication for now, and if it recurs, we might consider surgery.
So it's not cancer then. So she can work a part-time job as usual, right?
Yeah, she's completely back to her usual self. Thomas smiled superficially at Riley's innocent smile.
I really wanted to live together, as originally planned, but I gave up because I thought Mom would worry about Riley.
I clenched my fists tightly. How could he lie so blatantly? As I served Thomas some roast chicken, Riley brought up a topic to him. Hey, Dad, I actually want to live with you after all. She spoke in a coaxing tone. I want to get a part-time job when I go to high school. Your apartment is closer to downtown compared to here. You know, working in a girls' bar is trending among college students right now, right? I'd like to try that. Riley, you can't. Those places don't hire you until you're 21, right, Thomas? Thomas's smile was strained.
Well, if she wants to, it might be convenient. I mean, maybe we should let her decide.
Thomas said with a sleazy laugh.
Riley is beautiful and looks mature, so she'd probably become the top girl at a girls' bar. Maybe even in places where she could make more money.
Stop talking nonsense. I raised my voice. Riley, it's illegal for anyone under 21 to work in places that serve alcohol. I made sure Riley understood. But of course the comment was directed at Thomas. Violating this law could get the establishment shut down and the owner arrested. It would be considered abuse, so you, Thomas, would be arrested too. It's common sense, Thomas. I won't let you claim ignorance.
Oh, is that so?
Thomas made a face as if he were bothered. As long as he could pay off his debts, he didn't care about breaking the law. He'd find a way to wriggle out of it when the time came. That was obviously his plan. Then, Riley pulled out a business card from her pocket. It had the name of a well-known adult entertainment chain, with branches nationwide, and the manager's name on it. Thomas's eyes widened as Riley cheerily told him, I found this at your place. Having this card means he's an acquaintance of yours, right?
Well, that's...
Were you planning to have me work there? Thomas was taken aback.
No, that's not.
Hit the nail on the head, didn't I? Saying you'd take me back in as a housekeeper substitute? Because taking care of a sick Riley is too much trouble.
Where did you hear that?
Thomas showed his agitation. You were talking on the phone in front of a grocery store in the downtown area, right? Planning to sell adult entertainment if it wasn't cancer? Making Riley work and using her salary to pay off your debts? I glared at Thomas, reprimanding him fiercely. So children are supposed to be useful to their parents. You dare say that when you haven't done a single fatherly thing? You're the lowest of the low. Overwhelmed by emotions, I argued back at Thomas with tears in my eyes. I should have been more suspicious of your sudden desire to live with Riley. Thinking you might have grown in these 10 years was my mistake. Mom, what was the reason you and Dad got divorced?
Hey, let's not talk about this here.
Thomas expressed his irritation. Ignoring Thomas, I turned to Riley. I planned to tell you when you were an adult, but you're in your 3rd year of middle school now. You can understand. All right, I'll tell you. I gathered my thoughts, pointing downwards. Dad quit his job suddenly when you were in my belly. He said he would find another job soon, but spent his days playing poker while I worked full-time until I was 8 months pregnant. That must have been hard, Mom, Riley said sympathetically. Even after I returned to work, 3 months after giving birth, Dad didn't do any housework or look for a job, and he wasted my salary on poker and drinks. That's why I got fed up and slammed the divorce papers in front of him.
Is that so? I don't remember.
Thomas scratched his head as if it were someone else's problem. Moreover, the child support we agreed on before the divorce was only paid for 2 months. Then I couldn't contact Dad at all. I sighed. Despite knowing it would be financially tough for you, I waived the compensation in the divorce, and that was a betrayal.
I don't care about what you're saying now,
Thomas retorted, and then looked at Riley. Trying to smile, he spoke in a gentle tone.
Riley, who do you believe, Dad or Mom?
Huh?
It's true. I thought it would be helpful if you did the housework. But selling you to adult entertainment? That's outrageous. Mom must be misunderstanding something.
Riley frowned. Just wait a moment. Smiling, Riley took out her mobile phone and made a call. Thank you for waiting. The door is open. Please come in. Wondering who it might be, I headed to the entrance and exclaimed in surprise upon opening the door. What? Scarlett? She is Sage's mother, a friend of Riley's, and also a single mother. Riley started attending the tutoring school because Sage was there. I never imagined she knew Thomas. Excuse me for intruding. Riley, Hannah, it's been a while. Contrary to Scarlett's smile, Thomas displayed a look of surprise.
What? Scarlett, why are you here?
Dad, you're dating Scarlett, right? Aren't you happy to see someone you like? Riley's remark left Thomas visibly annoyed, unable to hide his irritation.
Didn't have to call her over at a time like this.
He watched displeasedly as Scarlett was invited into the room by me and Riley. After offering Scarlett coffee at the dining table, Riley spoke to her with a smile. I heard from Sage that you were considering remarrying Thomas, with the understanding that it would lead to marriage. Sage was worried, saying, Mom is lending him money for his business because Thomas keeps asking her to. Scarlett, did you lend him money? I couldn't help but sound accusatory. Your father is a company president, right? Did you know that, Dad?
Yeah.
Thomas shifted uncomfortably. Wow, you've managed to start a business. That's surprising. A wealthy heiress, such a wonderful cash tree. Thomas glared at me with fierce eyes. But then he softened his expression with a gentle smile.
Come on, Hannah. I've learned a lot these past 10 years. Wanting to start over in life, I met Scarlett while networking for work.
I see. My apologies. Why was I called here? Scarlett asked timidly. Riley then presented the Adult Entertainment Club membership card she had mentioned earlier. Thomas quickly snatched it, but it was already seared into Scarlett's memory. Well, you see, that's, the place where Dad's girlfriend works. Oh, my mistake, Dad. You were planning to sell me there? I was taken aback by the revelation. Riley suddenly bringing that up. This is the person. Pretty, isn't she? Riley even showed photos saved on her mobile phone of Thomas with another woman. This is one from our movie date, and this is one from the aquarium. There's also one from the theme park, the sweets buffet, and the outlet mall. They're all beautiful. Mom agrees, right? Yes, indeed. I glanced at Scarlett, whose eyes were bloodshot with anger.
Don't take sneaky photos. What an ill-mannered brat.
Thomas muttered in a low voice, to which Riley unabashedly replied, What I did is nothing compared to what you're doing, using me as an excuse to date other women each time. I heard all your complaints about how tiring it is to look after a child. Then Riley placed another card on the dining table. My credit card? What? It was used without my permission? I was shocked. This was the card I used for rent and utility payments. I hadn't noticed any unauthorized use by Thomas, because the withdrawals were always as expected. I had never changed the old PIN either. Dad, you were buying designer bags with the card, but don't worry, I've already had it canceled. Riley handed back the card to me and then questioned Thomas while looking him in the eye. By the way, Dad, are you working? You're probably unemployed, living off the money you borrowed from Scarlett and your debts, splurging on other women.
Cut it out. I was just hanging out with a few women. Don't believe what they're saying, Scarlett.
Thomas defensively spoke in an arrogant tone, but he swallowed his breath when Scarlett stood up, staring him down with a formidable look. I've been supporting you financially because I thought you were busy with work, unable to mate, but it turns out you've been cheating with several women. Just as Hannah said, I was nothing but a cash cow to you. Unforgivable.
It was just fun and games. Those women were just part of work, going out to eat and shopping with me. You wouldn't understand the adult entertainment world, being a lady of leisure.
Thomas desperately tried to justify himself, but Riley then showered him with receipts from various hotels. So you enjoy visiting different hotels? So you were using Scarlett's money for this? Wow, there are even suites in famous hotels. How lavish.
Damn, did you steal this from my room too? You're a thief.
Thomas cursed, but I applauded. Thomas, you've really outdone yourself. 10 years ago, you quit your job while I was pregnant to indulge in poker, forced me to work postpartum, and then defaulted on child support. And now, you've swindled money from Scarlett, planned to sell your daughter into adult entertainment, and used my card without permission. You never disappoint. Scarlett's expression turned demonic.
Don't listen to them, Scarlett. They're both liars. Those phone images must be edited. You should only trust me.
Thomas claimed his innocence, but Scarlett's gaze was icy. I can't trust someone who speaks ill of his own daughter, let alone his ex-wife. Scarlett's rejection left Thomas stunned. I won't see you again. I'll have my lawyer contact you tomorrow to demand the money back.
Huh? Look, suddenly demanding $100,000 is impossible.
Scarlett brushed off Thomas's attempt to cling to her and stormed out in anger.
Damn, there goes my cash cow.
Thomas muttered bitterly, turning his bloodshot eyes towards me.
You two are going to pay for this.
That's none of our business. Were you really planning to marry Scarlett? You might get sued for marriage fraud. Thomas laughed off my words.
Right, not just Riley. Hannah can work too. That way, I can pay off my debts quickly and start playing around again. It's only natural for family to help out when in trouble, right? You two work for me.
Dad, we've been done with you for a long time. Ignoring Riley's exasperation, Thomas pulled out his mobile phone.
Manager, let's proceed with that discussion we had. Hannah will join us. What, you're backing out now? Why?
While Thomas was arguing on the phone, the doorbell rang. Ding ding! 2 men in suits stood at the entrance. Detectives?
Police?
Ripley opened the door and welcomed the detectives inside. One of the detectives showed his badge to Thomas and asked formally,
Are you Thomas Scott? We received a report from the manager of an adult entertainment club about suspicions of child abuse and fraud. We need you to come with us. What?
Thomas turned pale.
I didn't do anything. Could there be a mistake?
His shaky voice and darting eyes looked suspicious, even to an amateur.
You're accused of falsifying your underage daughter's age to employ her at a club. Despite refusal, you persistently pressured, leading to a distress call to us,
said the detective.
Those bastards sticking their nose where they don't belong.
Though Thomas barked back, facing the sturdy detectives, he seemed to realize resistance was futile. He was led away quietly to the police car. Police investigations revealed Thomas had deceived several women besides Scarlett, promising business startups or implying marriage, only to swindle money from them. He was actually unemployed, living off gambling. He used the swindled money to repay his debts and splurged the rest on women in adult entertainment. Thomas received a 3-month prison sentence and, upon release, compensated me and Scarlett. Child support and credit card expenses for me, and the falsely borrowed business funds for Scarlett, including compensation for marriage fraud. Both Scarlett and I had warned Thomas, "Run away, and we'll sue." So he complied, likely out of compliance. Thomas tried to borrow money from friends and in-laws, but after learning of this incident, they all cut ties with him. Burdened with significant debt, he couldn't borrow more, resorting to loan payments for our compensation. If he defaulted, his bank account would be seized. Thomas started working seriously for the first time in decades, but after repaying me and Scarlett, little remained. Recently, he quit gambling and visits to adult entertainment, spending his days in a dimly lit apartment unless working. After the police car with Thomas departed, we resumed Riley's discharge celebration. I dished up Riley's favorite omelet rice and added fruit punch for dessert. Sitting across Riley, I took a moment and quietly said, "I was worried about what would happen if Thomas took you away." Riley's eyes widened, then she replied in a nonchalant tone, trying to mask her embarrassment, "I'm already in the 3rd year of middle school. Even without asking about the divorce, I can tell what kind of person he is when we go out together." Yeah, you're right. Alone with Riley again, she reverted to her indifferent demeanor. The fun of teaming up against Thomas made me slightly sad to think our interactions might lessen. "I just wanted to see what it was like to go out with Dad. I never intended to live with him." "Really?" "Of course. My only family is you, Mom." Tears welled up as Riley pursed her lips. "That's right. Of course." Riley started eating her omelet rice without further ado. "How is it? Delicious?" "I always tell you, your omelet rice is better than any restaurant's. Can I have seconds?" Watching Riley enjoy her seconds, a smile naturally appeared on my face. Someday Riley will become independent. Until then, I want to cherish the happiness of being together and enjoy our parent-child bond. That's how I felt.